Welcome to Beans and Breakdowns, a podcast dedicated to bridging the gap between specialty coffee and the heavy music community. On this episode, I'm joined by Alan Cassidy, drummer for the Black Dahlia Murder. So grab a fresh cup of coffee and wake the fuck up! What's going on, Caffeinated Crew? Today I'm joined by someone you may have seen, someone you may have heard, Alan Cassidy of the band Black Dahlia Murder. How are you doing?
I'm great. I think the caffeine's starting to kick in. I think that's why I just jumped right in and started my spiel.
Yeah, they don't know, but the trash talk has already begun. I mean, I can already assume that this is going to be an episode filled with hot takes, which I'm a fan of. So
I got some. Yeah, I got some for sure. Oh yeah, definitely. But I think I already alienated all of Canada. So
it's okay.
You've already lost all of those people listening to you. That's
only about 40 to 50% of my listeners. So
only half, you know.
I know where you're coming from, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, in a second. But I do know what you mean when you said these Tim Horton's comments that we will revisit. But I'm not originally from Canada. I live in Montreal I've been here for 5 years, but I'm originally from Georgia, which had no Dunkin' or Tim Hortons. So that being said, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I like to try and keep it healthy in quotation marks because I have always needed caffeine. Just, being a death metal drummer, it's like you need something to, fire you up. And I used to drink a lot of energy drinks and then, came to the realization that that's awful. Like you just can't live off of that all the time. And I started drinking coffee, and one of the easiest ways to drink coffee for me is I will not drink hot coffee. I don't care what time of year it is. I will not drink hot coffee, and I am an iced / cold brew boy all the way. Like those are my only two, preferred ways of drinking coffee. But anyway, I am drinking just a large iced coffee with mocha in it. Nothing else. It's just chocolate and coffee because I like it bitter, and it definitely tastes like dark chocolate, which I love. So, can't get any better than that.
So what were these comments I had just heard about
that
about
Tim Hortons
Duncan?
Fucking sucks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say yes or no because I've got split feelings about Mr. Timothy, but why do you? Yeah, Mr. Timothy Horton. Why do you feel this way about him?
I'll tell you why. I think my main gripe with it is that when I used to get Tim Hortons, it was a store that was close to the practice space that the band used to have. And that was easy for me to go pick it up before I would go to the, practice spot and spend a few hours playing drums. And this is going to also upset some coffee drinkers, but it's Tim Hortons. We're talking Dunkin' too. This is not highbrow coffee or anything. But I was looking for the most bang for my buck. I wanted to get a huge ass coffee and didn't want to pay a bunch of money for it. And of course I wasn't going to go to Starbucks every day. So yeah, I started going to Tim Hortons. I would get a large, and I guess as I just got more serious, quote unquote, or just more consistent about drinking coffee, didn't realize for the longest time, it's granulated sugar is not going to dissolve in your iced coffee. It'll be sand. It'll stay sand. It never dissolves. So I stopped getting sugar, and I was like, it's not good anyway. So then I just started getting creamer in there with the coffee. And then I was like, nope, don't really like that either. It's making this just kind of, I just don't like the flavor very much. So then I started getting the Tim Hortons flavor, like whatever the hell pumps. Okay. And those just, they're not good. They're unsweetened. And when you put them in the iced coffee, I just don't think that they dissolve into that very well, but they also never add any sort of like good sweetness to it. You know, like, yes, it is unsweetened, but I thought that it would give some kind of like cool, good flavor to it. And no, it's like almost kind of drinking like a Monster coffee where you can taste like the syrup added to it with like the milk and the probably instant coffee or whatever. And so from then on, I was like, it's fucking disgusting. And then I just started going to Dunkin' because I think that was another one where it was like, oh, I'm getting actually a bigger coffee for less money. And the chocolate just went in there nice and just kind of went with that the whole time. And I like the pumpkin spice that they'll throw in. It's not my favorite pumpkin spice for sure, but it's all right. Like as far as their, after coffee flavors, like I think Dunkin' is pretty good and I don't mind it. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking. And that's why I hate fucking Tim Hortons.
So I have split feelings on Timothy. Between Montreal and Toronto, which is the most frequent inside of Canada shows you will play if you live in either of those cities, we have these things called en routes that are like rest stops that have like food courts. Each one has a Tim Hortons, like a Wendy's, and A&W. Like I'm sure you stopped at them at least once or twice. But the Tim's is all you get. And I'm not drinking A&W coffee. I don't care. Like that's weird.
That is weird.
So you
it's
just
like McDonald's coffee kind of.
Actually, McDonald's coffee is the best fast food coffee in Canada.
Interesting. Like
it's different. Just
regular hot with cream and sugar.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you go to like McDonald's and get a double and go to Tim's and get a double, that double from McDonald's is significantly better.
I could believe that. I mean, like, just because McDonald's is ginormous, it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's like they've probably got their formula on lock, and it's going to taste great everywhere. But Tim Hortons should also be on lock only because their big thing is coffee and your other little foods and things.
Well, now they changed ownership, like I think within 10 years ago, and they focus now more on the food, and their coffee recipe changed, and it's shitty now. That's what I've heard.
Damn, that's unfortunate. As much as I don't like it, it still sucks to have other people to do and be like, what the hell they do to my coffee?
Yeah, especially like a lot of it is at the price point where it's usually like, dudes going out to like their job, like working on the lines, or like, it's like a lot of that working man's coffee. It keeps the country going. It's like $1. You get the order that you like, and that's it. And then they change that recipe up to disappoint everybody. I mean, we're lucky we still have power. Like this is crazy. Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of workers have boycotted Tim Hortons coffee, which is now creating supply chain issues because nobody can wake up.
Yeah. See, like at that point, it was like, what's COVID? Just Tim changed the recipe and we're dead.
Oh man, I could definitely see rioting in the streets.
Yes. That being said, I am a fan of Dunkin'. They actually roast their coffee lighter with the acknowledgement that they will be putting flavors in all of their coffees. So the roasting on a Dunkin's coffee is actually much better than anywhere else. We just don't have Dunkin' here. So
yeah, that's the bummer. Like I think Dunkin', yes, it may not exist all over the US, but I would say it's fairly easy to find. But since I live in Michigan and, I don't know, I guess I don't really drink a whole lot of coffee on tour all the time. I think it's because like it gives me a little too much anxiety when I'm on tour, and I don't need that. Like, sometimes I need to wake up a little bit or whatever, but like the amount of energy to get stuff done in a day when I'm not doing anything, I feel like is harder. I need coffee, and like on tour, I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. I don't need any added, pressure or anxiety or whatever. So, but yeah, I don't notice if they're sparse in other parts of the country or whatever. But yeah, sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent. I wasn't really sure what my point was.
It's all good. It's just it is also interesting, and this may cause another tangent to hear a Midwesterner talking about drinking Dunkin' Donuts, but that's that's a new one for me. I've pigeonholed and niched myself with this podcast into only buying like locally nice roasted coffees once a week when I talk to people. Nice. So this one is called Colores. I've never had it before, but it's from right outside of Montreal. It's their Finca Los Torres from Honduras. It is a natural process. I don't know if you're into any of that like coffee speak stuff.
I as much as I might appreciate it, am not savvy on that type of stuff. Like I definitely am not the kind of guy who's like, ooh, yeah, like, natural process, like all this different stuff. I'm like, if it tastes good, that's awesome. And if there are special processes or anything that goes into it, great. Just as long
I
as
envy you. I envy being able to just be that happy and naive about it.
Yeah. It's kind of like having the blessing of having not to be super particular about coffee, but also just being stupid with an unrefined palate. So,
that's a blessing. This coffee is supposed to taste like candy, wild strawberries. I don't know. I'm not getting a lot of that. I guess I get a little strawberry taste. But I've never eaten a candied strawberry, so I have no frame of reference of what that would taste like. So
I feel like it would be like a cheesecake, like a strawberry cheesecake, like that sort of like glaze or the gel.
Yeah, like a confit, like jammy style of.
Are you a flavored coffee guy, or are you just like let the beans speak for themselves?
I'm 80 to 90% of the time. It's let the beans speak for themselves. Pour over, annoying barista type deal.
Yeah.
The other 10% is during certain seasons, getting homemade. I like to see what coffee shops do their own like weird tasting latte or something. So in Montreal, tons of maple lattes, obviously. And then there's a lot of
syrup in.
That's it. And it's good. I do it at home too. And then also a lot of shops here do homemade pumpkin spice lattes.
Which love it.
So good.
Dude, so, I don't know why pumpkin spice gets shit on so much by people who are like, that's you like that stuff? That's so basic. It's like, dude, nobody's giving anyone shit for like, oh, you like to drink peppermint or gingerbread during Christmas? It's like, why is it pumpkin spice only? Like, I would absolutely dole out some hate for gingerbread and peppermint. Like, I'm not a peppermint guy, but like, I'm not shitting on anyone either. I just definitely don't like it though.
Yeah. That's like, I'm not going to attack you for spiking some eggnog and, drinking a shit ton of that. That's goated.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, I made pumpkin spice syrup homemade. It's not easy. So people who are like, that's so basic, man, like, if you make it at home or you have a shop that's making like homemade ones, that shit is hard to make. So let's calm down a little bit.
Put some respect behind it.
Yeah. I want to see some respect on the pumpkin spice.
Respect the process. Yeah, I'd be interested to know what goes into that, because to me it's like, it just kind of, it seems like seasonings, like I know that the pumpkin is like definitely something, whether it's I don't even know, like a liquid or whatever, but yeah, seems like cinnamon, other shit.
Yeah. So essentially, every spice blend that you would put into a pumpkin pie, you put that, and then you also, this is the stupidest part. You get like a pan, like a can of like pumpkin puree that you would make a pie,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and put it in like a cheesecloth, like you're making
Oh,
cheese, and then you
yeah.
squeeze all of the liquid out of it.
Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I kind of thought, yeah, you might go with a pumpkin puree, but I wasn't sure exactly how you would extract
Mm-hmm.
that from it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. So,
So yeah,
do you have to use like a lot of pumpkin puree to try and get all the liquid out?
you can usually follow just like one recipe for one pie. So it's like one can, the same amount of spices plus like the sugar that you would use. And then basically put it all in a pot and just boil it in the pumpkin water.
Okay, that's all right. That's good to know. I would love to try that because, yeah, anything like super flavorful and could do it at home too, especially that would be fantastic because I definitely am like I'll go down to the Dunkin' and get the stupid syrup or whatever. But I don't know why I'm thinking this, but are you a coffee and cigarettes guy?
I used to be. Are you? I don't smoke anymore.
I don't smoke either, really. I've just been vaping. I definitely am trying to quit. I want to quit, but I guess like where that leads me next is like, dude, I had some Folgers because I was buying Folgers only for the quantity. Like I went to the store and I was like, dude, I like cold brew. I make a ton of it. My brother got me a gallon sized mason jar, and I was like, dude, that is amazing. It was like one of the best gifts I had gotten for something in a long time. But yeah, put in some Folgers, and dude, it does not matter how you make that. It doesn't matter if you roast or if you make it hot or cold. It tastes like a cigarette. Like it. I hadn't even smoked in months, and I like drank a glass of it, and I was just like, oh, this is like cigarette butt tea.
Yeah. If you do want to go the cold brew route, it's so easy. I don't know exactly what city or town you are in, but I know that there's a lot of like good roasters around Michigan.
Oh yeah, I gotta do my research because I'm not getting into the good stuff. There is a company here called Rootless, and I believe it's called Rootless, and it is owned by a Michigan artist. Oh my god, I'm gonna blank on his name. Give me 1 second, but he was the drummer in the band The Swellers. I don't know if you ever heard them before, but they were like a
Mm-mm.
pop punk band that was a really big deal here in Michigan. And I think that they had a pretty good amount of success. And oh, his name is John Diener.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that they were kind of successful with like during the pop punk rise, the wave, and pretty sure that they did a few Warp tours, and they had a great shirt that said "Started at the bottom, still here." But they did the Warp tour that I did, which was back in 2013, and I met those
Mm-hmm.
guys, and great band. Definitely was into them, and just really great guys. Like the other brother designs guitar pedals now.
Oh, sick.
And yeah, but the Rootless stuff, I've been meaning to try out his coffee. And but other than that, I'm not super familiar with any like local roasters
If you
around here.
if you just go into like a shop that looks annoying, and you know what I'm talking about, we all know it's annoying, coffee culture. But if you just go in and ask the very hipster looking barista what they use for their cold brew, you can buy just like a bag. They'll grind it for you exactly how it needs to be with like their $8,000, $10,000 grinder or whatever. And you can get this thing called a coffee sock that goes in a
Oh,
gallon mason jar.
okay.
And
That's
then
awesome.
yeah, so you can get it on Amazon even. But you basically just fill it up with the beans, put it in the mason jar filled with water, let it steep overnight, take the sock out, and you can drink it immediately. It's like almost no effort.
That's great because what I use is just the mesh filter thing that comes with the mason jar, and I always inevitably get like sludge at the bottom of the thing because it's just all those fine little pieces of coffee are coming out the entire time, and that sock sounds like it's a hell of a lot harder to allow that to get out.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's like a cloth, like a durable cloth, but it's like thin enough, but you won't get any grounds in it, and you just basically dump it and wash it out. Like you can put it in the dishwasher and clean it and then use it again. So there's like zero waste involved too. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, that's great. I have one of those on a smaller scale, and it's for I bought a kind of like mini kit to make Thai iced teas or Thai coffees, and yeah, that those are really good. I can't believe the amount of sugar that goes into those. It's unbelievable. Like, yeah, it wasn't until I made one that I was like, oh, this is not good all the time.
No wonder it tastes so good. It's the sugar.
Oh my God. It's heavenly though. It's like every time I go to eat Thai though, like I got to get a Thai iced coffee or tea, and never regret it.
The Vietnamese iced coffees too, where it's just like, it comes with like the thing on top dripping in, and then it's just got a bunch of sweetened condensed milk in the bottom, and you got to like stir it up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever had that before. I really like seeing different cultures and how they do their coffees. One thing I've wanted to try for the longest time is like Egyptian or Turkish coffee, where they
sand.
They cook it in the sand. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
There's one place here that does it. It's not for me. It's very cool looking, but the taste is a little too muddy for me.
It looks kind of like that. It looks like a little bit more viscous pudding, or like viscous. Or like a more liquidy pudding, but damn, it also looks super strong. Like it looks like it's gonna kick you in the ass as soon as you finish your little espresso cup of it.
I took like a sip of it, and like it was like in the cartoons when like Bugs Bunny, like his ears like go straight and his eyes are like super wide. That's like how it felt, because they also put some cardamom in it, and it was just like.
And what is cardamom again?
I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a more savory version of cinnamon.
Sort of. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've had that before. I just didn't don't remember when or what it would have been with the last time I had it.
Don't you have a coffee called Blast Beans?
I do. It is with our tour manager, Nick Marrero, and he started his own coffee company called Malacca. And for all you people out there who don't know what a Malacca is, it's I guess it's a Greek word, and I'm pretty sure it is a guy who masturbates too much. And so when the pandemic hit, I was just kind of talking to him, and I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do to make money. Like, obviously getting a job is not the safest thing in the world, or something you really want to go do at this moment. And he was like, dude, I will give you like a flavor, and we can just sell it, and I'll give you the profits, and I'll just recoup the expenses. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Thank you. And so he had me try out a few different coffees, and immediately this one that I had no clue was going to be my favorite, because just the flavor profile to me is not something I would typically be like, oh yeah, let's go with that, but it's a maple bourbon. So for
Okay.
all of you Canadian people I alienated, I hope I can win you back with your favorite syrup and alcohol. But it's, oh my God, it's flavored coffee, but it tastes exactly like what the flavor profile is. It is a maple bourbon, and it is so good. It's like, I rarely drink coffee black, but that is absolutely a coffee that I can drink black and have no problems with. Like, it's just so flavorful. I feel bad ever putting any sort of flavored creamer or anything into it, because it's like, you're just, killing that great flavor. And I've wanted to switch to something else just to give people like a new flavor, like something to be excited about. But it's just like, man, I've tried the other ones out and they're all just kind of like, yes, I can get an idea of how that's supposed to taste like that, but this is just so in your face, unmistakable, that it's really hard to want to choose anything else. And there was another coffee company, I guess very small. Like, the way that I found out about them was, I don't know if you guys have Burlington Coat Factory up in Canada. Okay. So it's like an outlet store, and you can just buy all sorts of, damaged or whatever goods, like overstock or something. And so I found this coffee that was peanut butter, like chocolate peanut butter cup. And that was another one where I was just like, holy shit. And I bought like a bag of it or something. And then I ended up going back a few days later and I bought the rest of them. And I would really like to talk to those guys and see if they will do the like packaging and labeling stuff, because I think it's kind of one of those, you just have to buy a mass quantity, but I don't know if they'll like individually bag it for you and all that. But yeah. So anyway, I would like to get a different flavor at some point, but for now, I think it's amazing. And I'm not sure exactly who we're going through, but it's definitely my favorite flavor, I think, like out of the stuff that I've tried through us. And but there are some really good ones. Nick has like a blueberry of his own, and that is really awesome. I think he was trying out something else, like I thought it was like a cheesecake, or I can't remember. It was some kind of like dessert thing. And it was like, damn, that sounds really good. I still haven't gotten to try it yet, but yeah. So for now, that's kind of all we got. And hopefully we're going to print some shirts in the future. I was trying to get some like different merch shit going. If you go on the website, malaccacoffee.com, you can get a mug and coffee bundle. I was doing drumsticks for a while, but then it just have to constantly reorder the drumsticks and all that crap. And then I signed them, and then I had to send them to Nick and whatnot. But his mom makes the mugs and they look really great. So I got like this rat think type character of me playing drums, and I look like I'm freaking out, it looks like the classic monster driving the hot rod thing, but it's me behind the drums, like freaking out, and there's like coffee flying everywhere. And yeah, it looks really good. So go on there and look it up and get you some.
It sounds good for Irish coffees, to be fair.
Oh, dude. Yeah, definitely. I haven't Irished my coffee, but I think it would be good.
It's not. I don't think I've ever had a terrible tasting Irish coffee, even at like the shitty pubs. So I'm sure with that, it's probably good.
And is there like a particular type of coffee that they do that with? Because I know that there is an Irish coffee flavor, but it's like, if you're just going to mix alcohol and coffee, like, do you need a specific one?
I would say you'd want something that's like more traditional. Like you want something that's nutty and chocolatey, like a diner coffee almost.
Ah, okay.
Because if you go with something that tastes like candied wild strawberries mixed with whiskey, that's probably going to be weird, right?
Yes, I could. Yeah, that whiskey is definitely going to cut through that sweetness, and it's going to be like a horrible yin yang.
Yeah, I don't want that. So yeah, definitely you want something that tastes like, I think like more wintry, honestly.
That makes total sense. And
That's just me.
one thing that I wanted to bring up too with the coffee tasting, like the trying out of the flavors and stuff for what we chose and how I chose it and stuff was because I like cold coffee. I was drinking a lot of this stuff cold, and then quickly realized I was like, man, and originally I did want to get like a cold brew bean that would be good for it, but like that's obviously a little bit more expensive to get something specialty like that. And a lot of these flavors were just not like opening up until you roasted or until you like brewed it, and so then I kind of just went the iced coffee route, and I was like, well, I'll just brew it, and then refrigerate it. But yeah, it's unfortunate because, man, like you were saying, to go get like, some actual specialty cold brew stuff, I don't really ever venture into that world either, only because of like the difficulty of the availability. Like if I'm buying coffee, it's generally like at the grocery store. Like I'm not usually going out of my way or something for it. And yeah, sorry, all you coffee snobs. I am definitely a basic dumbass. And, I know what trash is and I enjoy a lot of it, but it's also affordable. It's like you got to buy in quantities or large quantities, and you need money.
That's true. That's I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but you're right. I think it's because it's like, when you kind of do something for the bit and then you have to like commit to it.
Like you're like, I can't ever have anyone call me out for not doing this.
Yeah, right. So now that like it's like 3 years in almost, and like I just committed to the bit long term, and I don't know. I can't like, if I just like one day was like, this is fucking Maxwell House dark roast, and they'd be like, what the fuck? Immediately canceled. Immediately. Let's talk a little bit why you wanted to become a drummer. What music were you listening to like as a kid in the house that pushed you to want to be a musician and a drummer?
Oh man. So growing up, my dad's favorite band was the Beatles, and we listened to a lot of that. And also like Wings and Paul McCartney solo and some John Lennon, some George Harrison. But yeah, a lot of the early pop stuff, like the British Invasion stuff. And so yeah, Ringo was kind of like the first guy that I was listening to. And I just liked music in general, so it helped that the Beatles were good, but like it was also the fact that I was just going to play drums no matter what. So if I would have heard anything, I would have been into it. But yeah, so that was kind of the first thing that was around the house. And then there was some other stuff, like my parents really liked Oingo Boingo, and trying to remember kind of who the other ones were. My mom definitely liked a lot of just kind of 90s top 40 stuff, but she also really liked a lot of old like 40s and 50s stuff, like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby and all those guys. And she's a pianist, so it kind of makes sense. It's like the jazzy piano vocalist stuff. But so yeah, just I guess like the Beatles were kind of the rock thing, and then my dad started listening to like Blink-182 and Green Day, and I had also kind of heard some of that stuff on the radio, so I started following that. And of course, it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit faster, and Travis Barker was a huge influence on me because of like how fast and interesting his drum parts were. And then like I heard Nirvana through my dad, and Van Halen, and some other stuff of the kind. And yeah, it was just kind of like I fell into a rabbit hole at that point where I just wanted to go faster and harder. And then like a friend introduced me to Pantera, and I couldn't believe it. It was like so much cooler than just fucking Enter Sandman that I'd only heard from Metallica. And then a kid left his CDs on the bus one time, and I took them home, and he had Slayer, Rain and Blood, and South of Heaven in there. And I was like, holy shit, I totally get why people just randomly scream Slayer now. Like, this is awesome, And so yeah, and then it was just like Slipknot after that, and just kind of kept going down the rabbit hole. And then I just followed kind of all the big bands that were up and coming, like in the early thousands and everything. And Black Dahlia was one of them. And kind of went into the metalcore thing, and it was tough though, because I grew up in Wyoming, and I had a lot of friends that were into some cool bands and stuff that I heard through them. But I didn't feel like, there was a bunch of people that like had those niche interests. So I didn't have like a friend who was into like ultra death metal, like from the 90s or the present or anything like that. So it kind of sucked. I had to find a lot of that on my own, but yeah, but those were my influences, and that was kind of just my gateway drug music,
So like, because you didn't really have those people around that were doing like metalcore, like I remember in high school, like you would find that little group of scene kids and like chill with them. Maybe one of them liked like A Day to Remember or something, like you'd find like your tribe, and then like maybe somebody was learning bass, and then some kid knew how to play guitar. So you start like a shitty band. Was that in play at all, or is that kind of what made you start doing some of the drum covers and things?
Yeah, totally. It was funny because the reason why I ended up in Wyoming was I lived in Michigan. My family moved from California to Michigan. We lived here I lived here for 5 years. And my mom lived here for about maybe 2 to 3 years. And my parents split up, and then she ended up moving out to Wyoming with my stepdad. And I went there to visit her for the summer, and I ended up horrifically breaking my leg, like right at the end of the summer. I was, this is the dumbest story ever. I was on a swing, and I was way too heavy for this swing. I was way too just old to be on a swing set in general. And I did, I guess, what is referred to on the playground as a cherry bomb, which is when you get to the top of the arc, like in either direction, you push, probably facing downward, but like you push out on the chains because you have slack on them. And don't know why I did it, just did it. And the next thing I knew, my body weight just hits the seat, and I go straight through the seat, and I'm on a downward trajectory, and I just landed in the worst, like sideways possible manner on my ankle. And I broke, through pretty much every bone in there. And so then I was like, I told my dad, okay, I can't come back to Michigan, or at least I don't want to, because I have to have surgery. My leg is so swollen, like I can't even get it off the bed and, walk around, and I don't want to get on a plane where it's all pressurized. So anyway, long way of saying, I was in Wyoming and had a broken leg, and I started school there, and I just kind of, happened to, I guess, run into that group of people at my school. And because it's Wyoming, it is a very small group of people, and you kind of find your weirdos real quick that way. They just were on the same page as me with a bunch of the music that they liked. And I guess that was kind of cool that I didn't have like a bunch of super niche interests and stuff like that, because it made being on the same page and wanting to write the same music a lot easier. And we knew like basically the best guitar player in town. And then my other friend was our rhythm guitar player, and he introduced me to that guy. And luckily, as a good like rehab type thing, my doctor was like, yeah, if you want to play drums, like if you want to use your foot to try and regain some of that muscle and stuff, you can definitely play, just as long as you don't overexert yourself or anything. So yeah, I went and played with them, and they were definitely stoked on jamming with me. And we had a band. The name of the band was called Dead Ashore. And that was, our super cool 15-year-old name. And we were a band for like, I think about 4 or 5 years, basically the whole time I was in high school and a little bit of college. And we were kind of like the only / first modern metal band. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say the only, because a bunch of other bands popped up after that. And but we were kind of like the only modern metal band at the moment, and doing the metalcore thing and all that. And so while I was in that band, I just knew that I wanted to like play drums for a living, and as much as we wanted to get out there and tour and be a cool ass band and do that thing, it was just like we were all young, we couldn't drive very far, and on top of that, dude, Wyoming is like empty as fuck, and you got to drive to like Colorado to go play shows. You got to play your only other surrounding states are like Montana, Idaho, Utah, and South Dakota. And, you're trapped in the Midwest. It fucking sucks. Like, there is no place to go to. It takes forever to get there. And how are you going to like maintain that sort of presence when you're, 16, 17 years old and your parents don't want you to drive way the hell out to some other place? So that's when I started doing the drum covers. And then by that point, when I started doing it more, it was like our band was definitely dissolving, because everybody just was like, I'm going to school, or I just, our really good guitar player didn't like metal anymore. And he was like, I just want to do something else. And then it was just from there on, like, okay, I'm going to do drum covers, and I want to get into another band. And actually, when I was 17, I saw that that band, The Agony Scene, was having auditions for drummers. And it was crazy, because I was talking to my girlfriend at the time, and it was just like a stupid ass comment. I was like, yep, any moment now, I bet the Agony Scene is going to be calling to, ask me to come play drums for them. And literally fucking 10 minutes later, my mom walks in the room and she's like, this guy named Mike Williams is on the phone. He says he's from a band. And I was like, what the fuck? And so, their singer called me, and he was like, dude, we saw your audition tape, which I made on fucking VHS, because that's how old it was. And they were like, yeah, man, it'd be really cool to like have you play for us. But, like, could you come out and record this album with us that we're doing in November? And unfortunately, I had like at least one more semester, like just one more semester of high school. I could have graduated early, but it was just the fall semester, and there was no way that I could like, go and record with them. And my mom definitely didn't want me dropping out. And I was like, yeah, I'm in my fucking senior year. Why the hell would I drop out? And so that just never came to be. But after that, just a lot more auditioning and trying to get into bands and stuff. So.
That's a crazy story. Doing a VHS fucking audition.
Dude, yeah, it was like we had the big over the shoulder fucking video recorder. And it was so weird because it was like, just a couple of years before YouTube really took off. And it was like, didn't even think about the fact of like, what do I do if I want to record anything? Like nobody was really recording anything because there was nothing to put it on, So, yeah. And then I ended up having to, for another audition that I did for Abigail Williams back when I was like 18, 19, I had to get the local badass skater guy to come over with his video camera and film me playing drums so I could put that up on YouTube because he was the only dude with a camera. Right. And yeah, but he definitely knew what he was doing. So that was cool. I just put him through hell because I was like, wait a second. I just got like 2 minutes into that. And I fucked up this part. I got to start over.
Do the whole thing over again.
Yeah. They get it. They have to fucking nail parts forever too. So whatever.
Yeah, they got like 20 take. I've seen like skate videos where like they'll do like 120 attempts before they get like the shot. It's crazy.
Oh, dude. And it's awesome watching like every attempt, especially if it's like I'm doing a 20 stare and you're just like, I cannot believe you just keep getting up there and trying to do that.
Oh, I can barely walk up a 20 stair. Like,
right. Let alone jumping down. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Jumps and then halfway like does like a fucking Smith on a rail. Like, fuck no. I sit my ass down on a drum throne and you're lucky if I can nail the parts. That's it.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Definitely a little sad I had to give up skating to play drums, but I went to the skate park a few years ago and just realized that like my balance and coordination is just not what it used to be. And also you're so much more afraid of like falling and hurting yourself. Yeah. And it's just like, and then you just don't realize how easy it is to do the dumbest thing ever and seriously fuck yourself up. So I'm like, all right, I miss this, but like, I'm too afraid now.
Yo, I moshed too hard at a show like a year or two ago when shows came back and ended up like giving myself a boxer's fracture like on my knuckle. And I had to cancel 4 shows because I couldn't play drums for almost 2 months.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude. It just, it's anything. And the other thing is I always fucking joke. I'm like, that's my drumming leg, but it's like in reality, every fucking limb is like you need it,
It's your drumming limbs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like you can't lose one thing. I did Abigail Williams was supposed to go on tour in Europe, and that was going to be my first time going out of the country. And skating related incident, it was so weird. I went to this place in Boise while I was on tour with Abigail, and it was this place called the Shredder, and they had a mini ramp in there, and I didn't like it so much because it was very steep for a mini ramp. Like it was pretty unforgiving. It didn't have that like just nice slope, the nice angles. Like it was definitely, once you get up to the coping, things have shifted a lot. But I skated better than I had ever skated at this place on this ramp that I wasn't comfortable with. And I was just like, this is crazy. And so I went home and I was working at this Thai food place doing dishes. And on my lunch break, I was like, you know what? That was such an awesome skate session. I'm going to go up to the local skate park and go, skate on the mini ramp. So, being the one that I grew up on and it being a nicer ramp too, with just not as steep angles, I guess I was really overcompensating for that. And it was like, I just couldn't find my balance and everything. And I got to the top of the coping, tried to turn around, do like a rock and roll. And I just went straight off the top of the 4-foot to the bottom on my palms. And I thought I felt a pop, and I was like, ooh, that was a hard fall, but I don't think anything bad has happened. And then for the rest of the day, the 4 or 5 hour shift I had to work washing dishes, my wrist was just ballooning, and I was like, and my hand was getting more tender, and I was like, I can't apply pressure to anything. Like, this hurts so bad. And luckily, my friend's mom was a chiropractor, and she had an X-ray machine in her practice. So I like went over there, got an X-ray, and she was like, "You have torn a ligament in your wrist, and you need to put this in a brace and keep it immobilized for at least 30 days. And if you don't do that and this doesn't heal properly, you absolutely will set yourself up to have this happen again, and it'll be worse and it'll take longer." But that was the exact 30-day mark from when I was supposed to go play my first show in Europe. And I was freaking out, like practicing drums, just stiff armed with my wrist in a brace. And luckily we were kind of playing like post black metal shit at that point. It wasn't like insane, fast, crazy technical shit, but it still hurt. And it was still just as difficult with no mobility. And, yeah, that was at that point, like, okay, that's it. Never skating again. Like, I've learned my lesson. And luckily the tour fizzled out like right around the week mark before we went out, and didn't have to go through that. But holy shit, it was an eye opener, and it sucked.
Yeah, I'm so afraid to, like, watching people skate is so fun, but it's like I know that there's no way I'm gonna be able to do it. So,
oh, dude, and it's like watching people skate makes me want to go skate, but then you just are like, they make it look so effortless, and I suck so hard, and it's not going to be as much fun like doing this because they just can do it so much better effortlessly.
I know that I don't want to get too deep into this. I love talking about gear. I play drums. I know that you're still a Tama artist. I play Tama. There's so much good shit we could talk about here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But to keep it from, being my getting too deep in, losing half of the listeners, give me what your current favorite setup is to do on tour right now.
So my favorite setup is pretty much my only setup, and it sucks because as a drummer that tours internationally, you really have to I think have a certain level of versatility in your setup, so you can scale down things and play on smaller setups if you have to, because I was in Japan and I was sharing a kit with Dave McGraw from Cattle Decap, and he, had a slightly different setup, and I think it was actually a little bit more minimalistic. And he was like, "Hey man, do you think I could like move some stuff around, or do you think I could take this stuff off?" And I'm like, I don't want to be a dick, but like, honestly, no, because I am so used to playing this exact same setup. Like, it's all muscle memory. And if you take something away, like, and we can't set that back up, or it's going to take too long, it will totally throw me off. So my setup is 2 kick drums. They're 18-inch diameter. I think they're like 18 by 20. And then I have an 8, 10, 12 rack tom setup, and then a 16 floor. And then I've got 14-inch mini China, 18-inch regular China, 2 18 crashes, 1 17, and a 10-inch splash, a 7-inch bell, and then I've got like a 22-inch ride. And it's basically exactly what Shannon Lucas was playing, and almost in the exact same configuration. And that worked out to my advantage, because like when I came to do the audition, I didn't really have to move shit around. But right. Yeah, that's what I was playing, just a few short years before I joined Dahlia, and that's what I've been playing ever since. And it's just kind of like, I would do different setups, and I guess I can in my downtime to just kind of like mess around and everything, but that is honestly my most comfortable thing. I feel like it offers the most amount of things that I would want and need out of like the ideas that I come up with. And Yeah, so it's why I've been rolling with it for so long.
Which Star Classic series are you playing?
I just got, I think 2 years ago at this point, a full maple kit.
Okay.
And then the uh, other kit that I use on tour is a birch babinga, and that
Nice.
was Shannon's. And yeah, that thing sounds awesome. I mean, both of them do, but uh, yeah, that birch babinga just has so much power and like punch to it, you know?
Was it the one that it was made in Japan, right?
It very well could have been. I'm not too sure about that, but I know that they loved him over there, so you know they could have given him the works for sure.
When you're like recording the drums, I know that like you guys use triggers in the studio and stuff like that just for the kick. But on the snare, are you trying out different things, or are you for each song, or are you just finding that one snare and then that's it for like the full go?
So this time was the only time that we kind of got a little deeper on the snare stuff. And yes, generally for metal, it is like you're going to use one snare because
Right.
it is not a super diverse, record that you're making most of the time. Like we're not kind of like a progressive like black metal band or something like that where we would utilize different snares for the tonality and things. The thing that we did on this one though was we went and tracked with Mark Lewis, and he has a few different snares that he keeps in his studio, and then he had a guy bring over a couple of snares, and we just basically had like 5 snares to compare. And I just played like, you know, some blast beats, some thrash stuff, some just kind of open stuff with, you know, like whole notes or a whole note maybe that lasts for like 8 beats or something. But yeah, so we compared all those, and we came to the conclusion that this one snare was really badass, and it what we ended up using on this record was a bronze cast shell, and then the hardware is brass, and there is no official brand for it because this was like a DIY build. And it actually turned out that the shell was cast at the DW factory, like within Tennessee, I guess. And so this guy knew a guy, and that guy worked over at DW and somehow was able to manufacture these things. And so yeah, dude bought it. Don't know if he drilled the holes himself or whatever, but yeah, it was a pieced together snare, and boy, that thing was just killer. Like it just such great attack and tone, and sounded amazing for like all the big rim shots that you needed it to do, but also really helped a lot with the attack of the blast beats and stuff. Like, you know, you just didn't have to put in as much effort to get as much definition and stuff out of the hits. And so we used that. But then the other thing that we did that was unlike the other albums is I didn't realize on the last album that we had some like slower parts, and one song in particular, the Leather Apron Scorn, it's got this like bass and drums part where it's really simplistic. It's like a laid back groove on the drums where it's like, you know, and like there's a lot of not hitting the snare in that, and having it like cranked and moon gelled to like dampen the head and the sustain was not helping with a part that big. You needed like that snare to really just have sustain and ring and be big, like with the sound. So this time, every part that we had that was like a slower tempo that had big open shit like that, we took the gel, the dampening gels off of the head and just kept it open. And then when we go back to the blasts and the thrash stuff, we would put it back on, and that just it kept the definition very clean, and it made all the hits just a little bit more punchy because there wasn't these overtones and this, ringing that was going on. So that's kind of like the most work we've put into like doing snare related stuff with an album,
Mm-hmm. It's super interesting, the snare choice that y'all went with, because DW is putting those shells out. Have you seen that?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's a completely bronze cast shale. There's my Georgia shale.
It's that Georgia
with completely brass hardware.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I wonder if he just was able to build that himself because of the fact that they're making those and it was easily available.
Well, they just announced it, so basically it's just coming out. They're on pre-order, like from my local shop, what I saw, but they're only making 100, and they're like $4,000.
Oh my God. Yeah.
For
because
$1,000.
I was definitely quoted a very high price, but not that high. And I don't want to say it because I don't want anybody to be like, why the fuck am I paying $4,000 for this? But
it's because it has a DW badge on it. That's why.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's going to be quality, but holy shit. I never anticipated buying a snare of that price. But once I heard this thing, I was just like, you know what? It's a one-time buy, and it might not be my last crazy one that I get, but like this is going to be something that I would absolutely love to have in my collection.
So you did buy it?
I am going to buy it when it becomes available. Like, I guess Mark's got to talk to this guy who's got to talk to that guy. And then if he is able to make it, then yeah, he's going to get one himself. And I am also in line to try and get one. And so we'll see when that happens, but I'm definitely shooting for it for sure. Yeah.
Have fun taking that on tour. I know it's a little bit easier for you because y'all have like crew and shit like that, but
no, we don't. That's
you don't.
Nope.
We
are all DIY, and dude, and that snare is a beast. Like
it's got to be 40 pounds.
Yes, it is ridiculously heavy. It would absolutely kill somebody if it fell off the top shelf of anything onto your head. And it's I don't think it's one that I can bring on tour for the fact that it is ridiculously heavy, but also that price is like, I'm leaving that at home, and hopefully I never have a fire or get robbed or something.
If you have a fire, it's not going to burn. It's fine.
That's absolutely true. It's probably just only going to get cooler.
just change the heads.
Yeah, totally. That's why you need metal shells. But then that's another thing that's kind of funny is I don't even own. Well, I do own, I think like two different. I own like a steel. I think it's called the Black. I think it's called something like the Big Black. It's just like it's
the 8x14. Tama. Yeah.
Yes, I have that one. That's a steel shell, and then I have a pearl brass Sensitone, and that's a 13-inch. And that thing sounds pretty cool. It definitely doesn't have like the thickness, but like it's got some good crack and tone to it and everything. But yeah, I think this bronze one is just like miles beyond those.
Verminous Remains tour wrapped up in the summer, right? Y'all kind of came back around September, because I saw y'all in July.
No, well, that was actually only mid-April to end of May. So we wrapped up right at the beginning of the summer, and that was a good time. I was glad to get home back, right when the summer started. And then we had one little week that we did in September, and that was the East Coast essentially, with like, Kentucky, a couple other places. I think Tennessee might have been in there, but no, that was part of the actual tour. But and it was mainly just kind of like stitching together stuff just to go play New England Metal Hardcore Fest and Blue Ridge Rock Fest. And yeah, thank God we played the one day on Blue Ridge that everything went right. And we really didn't have anything to complain about. But the horror stories from every other person, whether they were a band or a patron or whatever, it was, yeah, it was pretty crazy. We were like, wow, it was really that bad. Cause like, we didn't see all that, thank God.
Yeah. I think like the next 2 weeks, all like the people who do reviews and stuff were like giving their take and their footage and stuff. It was like, damn, man, that shit was bad.
Oh yeah, when the articles just kept rolling out about all this different shit, it was like, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
there is a lot more going on here than we were aware of.
And it was really great. My days were super mixed up because y'all came to Montreal, I think, in May. So, and it was the one date that Despised Icon played. That's why I remember.
Okay, yeah.
But it was really cool seeing like the different kind of eras, I think, of metal, because you got like Phobophilic and Fuming Mouth, which is very much like hardcore influenced metal music, and then Frozen Soul, which just basically young bolt thrower, and then Despised Icon, which rips everybody, and Terror. That's super weird, but great. But yeah, like just seeing like the different scenes come together for that tour, because I feel like Black Dahlia has been a band that everybody is into. If you're into hardcore or metal, at one point in time, you have been into, like, I remember listening to Miasma for the first time, and when I was like in middle school, and that was kind of like when I was getting into metal. So it's very cool to see all of these bands playing together with Black Dahlia being like the headliner. But do you have a story from being on tour that was like, this shit was crazy?
Yeah. Man, I have to also think about what is all right to share. Okay, well, I got it.
What's appropriate?
Yeah, what's appropriate, what doesn't, go out against any bands in any bad way. Okay, so when I was in Abigail Williams, I had Thanksgiving with fucking Mayhem. And that is just the most bizarre thing to ever, think could happen. You're sharing this fucking family togetherness holiday with like the scariest band that's probably ever existed, or at least one of them. And it was totally normal. I mean, what do you expect? Except for Attila doing whippets, which was hilarious. But he it was the end of the night, and he definitely sucked all the CO2 out of all the whipped cream. So no more whipped cream on your pie after that.
My God.
But yeah, that was pretty wild. Never thought that would be like a sentence that I would ever utter in my life, having Thanksgiving with Mayhem. But really good time. Those guys are all awesome, and it was a cool experience.
It's good to know that, at the end of the day, they still celebrate like normal humans.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they are the scariest guys when they're on stage, and then when they're off stage, just super chill, very quiet, very like, personable, and and then their crew is even funnier because like those guys are just super nice people, and the drum tech for Hellhammer he's an American, and because they had a couple of Norwegian people and also maybe Swedish, but American drum guy, and he's just like super goofy and bubbly, and like I'm like, I would never think that you would have a job with these guys, like they're like too happy.
No work. Too happy.
No work. You must be sadder.
Cold like the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what does Black Dahlia have coming up the rest of the year into next year?
I can't talk too much about it, but as you've seen, we are definitely hitting those fests in the summer in Europe. Sorry, everybody, anywhere else. We are going to all those festivals that we missed for the last 3 years because we owe it to them big time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are going to be going out there in June and then back again in August. And it's like, I mean, it's just only because the plane trip sucks, you know, and I got to order my, my butt gel pad for sitting on the plane because I don't have an ass and it really sucks about 4 hours in. But yeah, so we're going over there, and then we got a few other things in the works, and those will be made known pretty soon, very soon actually, and or at least one of them will. And then yeah, you'll probably be waiting until about maybe spring, summer for some end of the year stuff. But yeah, we're going out, we're doing stuff, and I would say that most of the world is going to see us. So be ready. We're coming back.
Yes, you will return.
We will return.
Well, Alan, this has been a lot of fun. I'm sorry to everybody who is not a drummer. This went way out of hand, but you know, that's how it is.
You know what? Broaden your musical knowledge, because you know what, you can now talk to a drummer about some stuff that you heard, and you won't sound like you're completely oblivious.
You'll sound cool. You'll be like, I heard that Tama stopped making drums in Japan in 2007. Like, that's cool. If somebody came up to me and said that, I'd be like, oh wow, that's crazy. And
yeah, have you heard of these nickel snares, these nickel aluminum steel brass snares? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like one snare.
There's only been one. Have you heard of this?
Been one. Yeah. It's in my brain right now.
Yes,
never made.
I've seen it in my dreams.
I'm just envisioning one snare.
We're gonna manifest it.
I can't wait. I can't wait for Tom to be like, so what do you want to make? And then I'm going to make the Homer Simpson car of snares.
Yeah, just here it is.
Yeah, it's like it's a 8 on top, and then it gets to a 16 on bottom. Like weird,
like the North drums, like porthole shells or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Most ridiculous. And most ridiculous snare with the worst price tag.
Yes, and it doesn't even sound good.
No, but that's what I wanted. I mean, I purposely made it to sound bad. It's only going to work for certain stuff.
For the bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But this has been really great. I really appreciate you hanging out on this episode. I just have one last question before we wrap things up. What's your favorite city for beans and breakdowns?
For beans and breakdowns. Damn.
You can go heavy on the breakdowns too.
Well, yeah, because I'm kind of, you know, I'm not, like I said, as experienced with my coffee palate. I would just go safe and kind of say, you know, like Seattle, Portland, I think has good coffee. Like, I mean, inevitably they do.
They do.
Couldn't tell you though any particular. Well, actually, shit. Was there felt like there was a Portland place that I went to that wasn't that I remembered that was pretty good, but yeah, the name escapes me right now. But sorry, whoever you are. But that, and as far as breakdowns go, man, who's owning it? Trying to think of who is really coming out with the shit. I feel like Texas kind of, you know, because Texas just has like such a wide array of like bands. I mean, there's black metal shit, there's death metal, there is hardcore, there's all sorts of everything out there. And shout out to Dauber Beverly. If you know that guy, he played in Insect Warfare, had a death metal project called Ingested. Or no, wait. No, not Ingested. I'm sorry. It was Ingurgitate. And then, damn, what was the other one? I think it's called Malignant Altar. It was a short-lived project that he did, but super goddamn heavy. I think they only put out an EP, but that dude has some serious chops. Oh, and of course his main band, Oceans of Slumber, which is very like Opethy. It's got a lot of range to the music and stuff, like a lot of good singing, but also, you know, heavy shit. And he's just an insanely great technical player. And and then of course I think Bryce Butler is out of Texas as well, and that dude fucking shreds. Like, so I think Texas is the winner.
Texas is the winner, undebatably heaviest state in all 50 states.
For people and music.
Yes, just for everything. Politics, music, people.
There you go. Yeah, everything is the utmost, unfortunately, with not things you want, but yeah. But shout out like Judiciary, Fugitive, Tirana, not Tirana, Ballista, Omerta. There's so many. I Am, Frozen Soul, Creeping Death. Yes. Absolutely.
These are all great bands. So there's something in the water. I keep telling people Texas got some crazy water.
It's hot and they're pissed, man. They got to have an outlet.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Pantera started and it just never stopped.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Alan, again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful rest of your year. And hopefully we'll be seeing you in Montreal soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beans and Breakdowns. I want to say a huge thanks to Alan for hanging out on the podcast. Keep an eye out for any tour announcements from the Black Dahlia Murder, and be sure to check out Verminous, their most recent LP, available on all streaming platforms. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. You can find out more information about the podcast by following us on Instagram at Beans and Breakdowns or on the web at beansandbreakdowns.com. Until next week, be sure to stay caffeinated and wake the fuck up!